ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you all into this meeting of today that is proclaimed by citizens from Europe, by citizens from Greece. We welcome you all today to discuss synergetic models that will allow people to enjoy sustainable energy. All started when we people made a proposition to the European Commission, to the MED program, in order to promote public-private people partnership to reduce energy cost. Some of us in the room speak about abolition. Να σταματήσουμε, να μην υπάρχει ενεργειακό κόστος. But this is something that is for the dreamers. This is something that can be a reality if we are getting organized. But then we needed an institutional expression. We needed to have an organization to apply for the European funds that we needed to do our job. And so in 2010, we established European Regional Framework for Cooperation. Ευρωπαϊκό πλαίσιο για την περιφερειακή συνεργασία. And this was the institution that took the initiative to represent first executive colleagues and friends that we thought that crisis is going to prevail, and so we needed to get organized rather than just complaining and objecting of what is happening. And so who are these people? It's you. Practically, it's every of us that we feel that when there is a problem, we have to sort this problem. We have to be the solution of this problem. And in order to do that, we have to sit together, to get organized, and focus on the solution of the problem. As you understand, the language is going to be English, not because we don't love principles that our mother language gave to the humanity, but because here we have key international colleagues and friends that are here because they love what we are trying to do in Greece, and they are here to tell us how they managed to reduce energy cost at home. I'm paying something like 300 euro every 2 months if you multiply how much it is per year. And if you multiply how much it is per year for you, and we had this budget in common, maybe we would have had a very, very good solution when it comes to energy cost. But I'm not the specialist. Günther Pauli is here, and we thank him a lot to do that. Dirk Knappen is here as the cooperative person from Belgium and also from Europe to do that. And Karel Delvaux is here also that they managed to have one of the most successful examples in Belgium. The meeting today is going to be addressed by Kyriaki as the Secretary General of all Secretary Generals Association, Klistenis, of all municipalities in Greece. I would like also the Mayor of Kozani to bless the effort that we are going to put together. And following, we are going to have presentation how they managed in Europe to do it from the three people that I just mentioned, and I would like also from REMIDA project to invite also Vanessa, that she's sitting in the back, to tell us what is this project and how this project is very important. She is coming from north of Italy. After that, we are going to hear the embryonic, τα έμβρια που ξεκινήσανε στην Ελλάδα για να πάνε στην ίδια κατεύθυνση. So the municipalities that one way or another or people that they started making cooperatives in whatever form in order to achieve what we have already achieved in other places outside Greece. I repeat, the objective is that we have twinning arrangements, economies of scale, cooperation with as many from Greece. Don't forget that now people are watching us over the internet, so we have streaming, and we would like to greet everybody there that is listening. In a while, we are going to communicate also an email address, Theo, and a Skype address, so that people that are listening now over the web, they can put questions, and so they can participate into our discussion. We are going to publish this on the screen. Ioannis, this is something that we have to secure for the people attending. And so, in order to cut then the long story short, we have here also from the academia and research people that they made the effort to arrive in order to safeguard that is possible. What we are discussing is not a dream, it is possible to happen in Greece. And so I greet you from the ex-rector, Mr. Markatos, that we hope to be able to come or not later today. Nevertheless, his colleagues are already here, and so they are going to tell us how it is indeed possible. And we are going to conclude with a discussion on how finally we have to get organized. If this is step number 1 today here, what is the next step afterwards? And then I invite you all to be part of that process. And I'm very, very glad that we have young people today here, especially from the social university in Greece. So social engineering is something that really we need to perform better. And so very welcome to everybody. I would like Kyriaki then to address why it's important, and also our mayor before Günther, that he was so kind, even for hours, to be in Greece, to be here, to address the issue from the blue economy point of view. And then I stop this monologue to pass the floor. Kyriaki.
Good morning. I represent the Hellenic Association of General Secretaries in municipalities. It's an association that started 5 years ago. We are the persons in the municipalities that do which do the hard work. We are like a nut between two hammers, because we have the elected persons above, and we have all the authorities and all the employees from the other side. We created this association because we had to share our know-how and best practices that we implement in our municipalities. Up to now, we have shared about 100 best practices in all fields of the mission of municipalities. And I have to point out that we are the persons that understand the political side of local governments, but also legal matters and also administrative matters, and we're trying to make the best connection between these two sides. About the importance of the energy cost and wastes, disposals in local communities, I would like to say that technology is running very fast. There are many ideas and many ways to use these kind of technologies for the best of the societies. But the hardest thing to do is to make public awareness, to make people, local communities participate and support any initiative. The best way to approach local communities is the local governments. And I believe in that, not in national, not so much the national politics or the national promotional strategies. Because in Greece we have many islands, and every island has its own culture. Populations are different in the way they live and the way they are thinking. You have to respect it. And one major thing that everyone is for everyone who is trying to make public awareness is to connect to connect the prosperity and the quality of life these people are going to have, and don't stay in cost-benefit analysis. You know very well that we are in a period very hard for people. Numbers are very tiring. So we need more holistic approaches. We have to be persuaded, we need to be persuaded that a plant or an installation is going to make our life better and the life of our children, because that's our hope, to make a better life for our children. And this is a different thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to do, to persuade people that their life is going to change in a better way. There are many obstacles, and you have to keep the whole procedure clean and transparent, because the capitals are huge in such investments, and we are very suspicious, you know. I may say things that everybody has in the backside of its mind, but we don't talk about them. I was working for the island of Kefalonia for 4 years, and it was a very hard time because we had to adjust to this Kallikratis program, as you know, but we also had the adjustment for the public finance and all this difficult crisis period. We also had the earthquakes, as you know, but we managed very well, and we have proven that everything is up to people. People made this island stand in its feet again. So numbers are persuasive, numbers are important, but you have to give small vision for people and communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kyriaki. A very, very short blessing from our mayor from Kozani. As you all know, Kozani και ενέργεια και λιγνίτης είναι an issue, very important issue in Greece. Dear Mayor.
Θα με συγχωρέσετε που θα μιλήσω στα ελληνικά.
You would excuse me.
Μου είναι λίγο πιο δύσκολο, δεν θέλω να εκτεθώ στα αγγλικά μου, να μου το συγχωρέσετε.
He will express better like that.
Λοιπόν, έρχομαι από την Kozani. Kozani, για όσους είναι μακριά από εδώ, είναι μια περιοχή στην βορειοδυτική Ελλάδα, γύρω στα 500 χιλιόμετρα από την Αθήνα, και παράγει περίπου το 50% της ηλεκτρικής ενέργειας της χώρας.
So 50% of electric energy in Greece is produced due to Kozani.
Κύριο καύσιμο είναι ο λιγνίτης, όπου αυτό έχει σαν πλεονέκτημα ότι δίνει ενέργεια στη χώρα, αλλά παράλληλα έχει δημιουργήσει πολύ σημαντικές συνέπειες σε τοπικό επίπεδο, στο περιβάλλον, αλλά και στην κοινωνία και κατ' επέκταση και στην οικονομία της περιοχής.
And so while this is very important for the energy of each of us, at the same time the economy or the ecology of Kozani is degraded.
Είναι πολύ σημαντικό για μας αυτή την περίοδο να σχεδιάσουμε ένα πλάνο μετάβασης σε μια άλλη οικονομία.
So you have to plan the next step to new type of economy.
Θέλουμε να στηρίζεται στην καθαρή ενέργεια, στην εξοικονόμηση ενέργειας, στο καθαρότερο περιβάλλον και στο βιωσιμότερο περιβάλλον για όλους.
So clean environment and sustainable environment is our objective now.
Με αφορμή και τη σημερινή εκδήλωση όπου έρχονται να ενωθούν η κοινωνία με την παραγωγή ενέργειας, γιατί αυτό είναι το ζητούμενο, πώς οι πολίτες θα εμπλακούν σε όλη αυτή την ιστορία, είναι πολύ σημαντικό για μας να δούμε πώς μπορεί να γίνει αυτό.
So the model next for us is to be discovered and to be justified, and we welcome every discussion for that.
Γιατί δυστυχώς, για να πούμε και μια πικρή αλήθεια, και στο κομμάτι της κοινωνικής συμμετοχής η χώρα μας έχει έλλειμμα, αλλά και στο κομμάτι της παραγωγής ενέργειας, της καθαρής παραγωγής ενέργειας, έχει εξίσου έλλειμμα, αν και έχει τις προϋποθέσεις να παράγει πολύ και καθαρής ποιότητας ενέργειας με τοπικούς πόρους όπως είναι ο αέρας, ο ήλιος.
And so we have a potential surplus in energy production due to sun, due to all these conditions in Greece. At the same time, social integration is also a big question, and whether we have achieved the social understanding of the type.
Εγώ να χαιρετήσω την εκδήλωση, να ευχαριστήσω για την πρόσκληση και να πω ότι πολλούς από εσάς ελπίζω να τα ξαναπούμε και στο μέλλον.
So welcome, blessings, and open discussion from now to the future. So we would like to thank the mayor of Kozani. Indeed, we feel all. I don't know if some of you passed from the area. I did, and I feel very much. I mean, looking at the sky of Kozani now, what's happening out there, and so his people must be, supported to overpass this situation. Gunther, thank you very much for making sure to be here. The man that is introducing blue economy, while we were talking about green economy, he is going to talk about the blue economy, starting out of Tokyo, where he is residing at the moment, teaching into several universities around the earth. I prefer not to talk I prefer to listen.
That's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And first of all, my apologies. I'm flying in and flying out, but with the great insistence and the invitation, I decided to take on the challenge and be here. At this very moment, I'm dedicated to a program in Johannesburg, South Africa, to generate 100,000 jobs in 6 months' time. I've no time to waste. You should think the same way. And we have already done more than 100,000 jobs in the 5 months, in the 2 weeks that we're working. I would like you to know that if you want a new business model, a new economic model, it is working. But you have to get, exactly as the mayor was saying, beyond the models that are there today. It's not about austerity, it's not about just spending. It's about redirecting the logic of what we can do with available resources. And just for you to get an idea, this is my son. At the age of 3 years old, my son is farming his own mushrooms. Why? Because his mom is Colombian and she drinks a lot of coffee. And we use the waste coffee, the spent from the coffee, and we use our organic fibrous waste. Because it all has been prepared and cooked, that means that we can do with an 80% energy efficiency compared to any other farmer of mushrooms, because it has already been sterilized by drinking the coffee and pouring the hot water in it. Now, that's the level of logic I'm going for. That means we're out-competing whoever is in the world market. We even out-compete the Chinese. And it's my son of 3. This is my rise to fame in Belgium. In 1991, I created the first ecological factory that was 0 emissions. No heat required additionally. I was producing soap. Soap is an exothermic reaction. The exothermic reaction was inside a factory, and I created a green cap on top of it so that the heat would get trapped into the building. It wasn't CNN primetime news. It was a rather famous initiative. But I was making soaps, but the soaps required palm oil, and I realized when I was in Indonesia, I was destroying the habitat of the orangutan. And as a result, I got out of the business. And that is when I sold everything and started dedicating myself to go beyond what is called renewable, biodegradable stuff. I mean, let's just put it to the side. In the end of the day, it is very much like was said by the 2 people who introduced. We need to generate the jobs. We need to respond to people's needs. And it's not just the numbers, and it's not just sustainability. We have to go beyond it. I summarized 100 initiatives in a book called The Blue Economy. Today we have 188 projects implemented, 4 billion euro mobilized, 3 million jobs generated. And why? Because we're obsessed by generational jobs. And we're obsessed by outcompeting what is there today. And I can only tell you, it's easy to outcompete what is there today. And this is the big shift in our thinking, because we don't have the confidence. I'm a European, I've left Europe 21 years ago. And my base is in Japan. I do a lot of work in Latin America. I do a lot of work in Africa. But to me, it is very important that we remember that we need a lot of great people who can inspire us. We need mentors. We need people who have changed the rules of the game. And my work with my foundation, that's in 34 countries today, our work is to change the rules of the game. You remember David against Goliath? Who won? David. Why did David win? Because he changed the rules of the game without telling Goliath. And that's what we have to do. Now I put my honor to the person there in the black and white picture on the top, George P. Livanos. Who remembers George P. Livanos? You Greeks, you're too young. You don't remember anymore. He created in 1984, or as part of it, the Hellenic Marine Protection Environment Agency. I've been involved in Greece a little bit before. So in the 80s, I was already here talking to your big shipping magnates in order to get environmentalism into the ships and self-regulate. Now, I've been working so many years for the green economy. I don't believe in the green economy anymore. Not because I'm against the green economy. We have to do better than the green economy. I mean, what is it with this green economy where everything is good for you and for your health and for the environment is more expensive? And therefore you subsidize it. It doesn't make sense anymore. This made sense in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, not with the logic we have today. So my blue economy is really a focus on use what you have. Focus on available resources, transform them into higher value, and we do something that most economists and definitely all MBAs think is impossible. We increase productivity and generate jobs. We have this incredible obsession today to cut jobs everywhere. It's ridiculous. How do you tolerate that? How much longer are you willing to tolerate it? Because the economic model that we will show, and I will show the cases, allows us to really come to a new growth strategy. And the growth strategy, and I'm going to go through this rather quickly, is that we have to reindustrialize and we reconnect the primary sector with industry. That's how we operate everywhere. Is it in South Africa? We do it. Is it in El Hierro, in Spain? We do it. If it is in Sardinia, who's here from Italy? Vanessa. Oh yeah, but she's close to Slovenia. Not so close to... But we are very keen on securing that we have the focus on value adding, not cost cutting. If you want to do nothing but cost cutting, join the multinationals and then pay no taxes in Europe. But if you are focusing on generating value added, then you can change the economy around. And let's go to El Hierro. 17 years of work. And I don't have a lot of time to go into detail, but after 17 years of work, El Hierro is the first island in the world that is self-sufficient in energy and water. The first one. And we don't burn anything. Every resource has to be used first to produce food, not to burn. And as a result, this project that initiated from these beautiful mountains of 1,500 meter altitude for a population of only 10,500 people. We raised 83 million euro and we were told we were nuts to even propose 83 million euro. There goes another white elephant in Spain, we were told. There are many in Spain, these white elephants. No, that's Calatrava, that's something else. We're not Calatrava. We're not Valencia. We're focusing on what? And our analysis in 1996 was very simple. The island is spending 8 million euro per year on import of fuel. My conclusion is then you have an 80 million euro budget. Simple as that. Because if you're wasting your money to the Arabs, with all due respect to my Arabic friends, But when you waste your money on fuel, then you can invest it into your own energy system. And the investment was done. It took a lot of challenges. But if we were only to have focused on the energy, it would not have worked. And as a result, we focused on water and energy. Because really the challenge on the island was water, energy, and jobs. I'm happy to say that today El Hierro has the lowest 5% unemployment in the whole of Spain. Would you like to listen to that story? And it's because we didn't focus on energy only, it was water and energy. And yes, it is a system whereby we're using wind energy, 5 area generators, it's 11.7 megawatt capacity. And most important is the change of the business model. The business model is that in the first place, electricity is generated and put into the grid and paid for. Second, excess energy is used to pump the water up so that when there is no wind that you can do the hydro. Third, whatever is left over is used to do desalination. That's interesting. Now we desalinize the water at marginal cost. And what is the result? The island has double the amount of water at half the cost. What do you now have? You can reopen your slaughterhouse. You can have your yogurt factory. You can have your cheese factory. You have your ice cream factory. You can start irrigating for your bananas. And the island grows self-sufficient in food. And all that money that was flown out of the island stays on the island. And no one suffers from any stress, except from the fact that now we need to immigrate to the island because there are not enough workers. Have you heard of that lately? Have you heard of that? But it was because the combination of water and electricity. Now Endesa has 30% of the capital and manages the electric system. The local population today owns 60% of the system. 60% owned by the local population, 10% by the province. And we were able to tell the government, eliminate your subsidies. What a free market system is that? We don't need the subsidies anymore. And that is where we've been able to move on and we've been able to implement this. This is the hero, un herreño. He's from El Hierro, Juan Manuel Quintero, the technician. No one believed that he was going to run it. He's running it. He should be hired by all of you because he knows how to turn an island self-sufficient in energy and water and grow the economy. But he's an engineer. And he doesn't do the business models with all the numbers as usual. He is passionate about his island and he really wants to make it possible. Twice the water, half the price. Renewable only. We got an expansion of organic agriculture. Sustainable fisheries. Scientific tourism. There are 60 people arriving every day to learn how this works. And you know, people who come to learn, they don't go with cheap planes. They don't have Airbnb. They go with what is available. Now, to me, it is very important that it's an island with a future. Now, let me jump you to another project, because I want to inspire you and see what is possible. Here we are in Colombia, my adopted country. That is the land that we found deforested by the Spaniards 200 years ago, 250 years ago, to introduce cattle farming. We don't talk about it anymore. We now talk about the Amazon. So instead of looking at this, we said we will regenerate the rainforest. And we were told to be nuts. The red, photos by NASA, is a regenerated rainforest. Now what happens when you regenerate a rainforest? When you regenerate this rainforest, then you are having water again, filtered water. But if you have a filtered water and you have again a drop of about 1 meter, you have electricity. 35 years ago, we started planning for the energy independence of this zone with the 1 meter drop hydropower stations. We have it. We have the whole region, which is again about 15,000 people, self-sufficient in water and in energy. And we use the hydro. But then we're using the mycorrhizal fungi, we're planting the trees, and we're tapping the trees. And the tapping of the trees we process locally. We were told we would never compete against anyone with a local factory. Bullshit! do we want to believe that everything has to be globalized and competitive and large scale and economies? That is history, but we believe it. Now, this is our facility. We produce our own fuel. We're the only region in the world that produces its own fuel from the trees. It's the turpentine. So we process the resin from the tree, we extract the colophon, which is for the paint industry. We outcompete the Chinese imports into Colombia, because we have an additional product, which is turpentine, and we're the only ones who use turpentine to fuel both the diesel engine and a gasoline engine. We don't accept what is there. Change the rules of the game. That is our motto. And that means that we have one fuel, turpentine, which we use for both diesel engines, tractors, for motorbikes, for everything. How much money do you think you make when you supply your own fuel? We lift that community in Colombia. It's the only community in Colombia that's full employment. And it's the only community in the world that produces its own fuel from the trees. How many more can follow? You want jobs, you want full employment? Start by substituting the fuel. And this is part of the message that I want to share with you. And we do it locally. And this is the man who's leading it, Paulo Lugari. Paulo has been headed for all the time. And here is our biodiesel. You know, I'm going to have to admit to you something. It says biodiesel. It's not biodiesel. It's turpentine. But what's the problem? There's no standard for turpentine using in cars. And if you want to do it, then you spend 2-3 years to get a standard approved. So what we do, we call it biodiesel and move on. Sometimes you got to be pragmatic in life. Because in the meantime, we are securing that the generation of refugees in one generation moves to middle class. That's my goal. Am I a communist? Am I a Che Guevara? Who am I? Or do we want results on the ground? And I think this is what we're missing. Now, we have a policy that water is to be for free. So I liked your playing with the words, should the energy be for free, and maybe they're dreaming. Well, if you're doing water and energy, we supply in whole our influence zone 3 liters of drinking water for free to everyone. Because water is life. Should be for free. Now, it does cost money, but we make so much money on that fuel, we can give it for free. This is not corporate social responsibility. This is just a commitment to the community. And what is the result? Everyone who is 6 years old in that region receives from us a bicycle for free. Now, what happens when everyone rides the bicycle and drinks 3 liters of water? The result is very clear. You have to close your hospital because of lack of patience. You don't have patience anymore. Everyone moves and everyone drinks water. I don't have to add, there is no Coca-Cola available in our sites. There's no cow's milk with hormones either. Are we obsessed? Are we clear? No, health is a priority. Happiness is a priority. Making certain that people can respond to their basic needs with what they have. Use the natural systems. You as Greeks, you have incredible natural systems. Go with nature. Use your natural resources, and you will be able to make a tremendous difference. Use a resource that's abundant. Have you seen this in Greece? This is a thistle. You have it. It's a Mediterranean plant. Whenever you don't farm the land anymore, you get thistles. Now, this was the basis of our reconversion of a petrochemical facility. I'm going to give you the numbers. Eni, maybe known by you as Agip. Eni used to import 2 million tons of petroleum to generate 700,000 tons of chemicals. That's the efficiency of a petrochemical plant. Today, we're producing elastomers, herbicides, lubricants. We're producing polymers, all from the thistle. The thistle, which was considered a weed, which we buy chemicals for to kill. You know, that's the logic we have. Now, we use that. And today, I'm happy to say that Lavazza, all the Lavazza capsules for coffee are now made from thistle chemistry, thistles. It's not corn that is being diverted to make into a bioplastic. We're using it from thistles. Now, Our waste product from our thistles is animal feed. We can supply local goat farmers animal feed at 250 euro a ton instead of the soy at 600 a ton. The GMO stuff we're getting from Brazil or from America, or we're supposed to get for free. And then we have the little dust on the thistle flower, which is a bacterial enzyme which we use to make cheese. We got 6 cash flows from a thistle. We've generated 2,500 jobs on the island of Sardinia, and they were told there was no future for Sardinia. And then, this is the old petrochemical facility which we have converted into a biorefinery. Where are your petrochemical facilities in Greece? How competitive are they? Are you ready to turn it around? Because the energy efficiency goes from 2 million tons of petroleum and 700,000 tons of chemicals to 360,000 tons of chemicals, but all from thistles, which are perennial plants, which are Mediterranean, which you cut and they grow again. I mean, can it get easier? And people say, oh, but the petroleum price is going down. I don't care. Because the thistles are for free. I don't have to irrigate. I don't have to put herbicides. I don't have to put pesticides. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to have tankers to ship it around. I just harvest and process. Could we as Europeans wake up and see what we have? Instead of being lost in the numbers, I mean, we should get it out of the numbers. Thanks to the policies of Matteo Renzi, we have a very clear understanding with the Prime Minister. 7 petrochemical facilities by the end of this year will be transformed to biorefineries. 7. We will be the biggest employer in chemistry in Italy. I'm the chairman of the company. This is transforming Europe. But we need a government that's ready to do it. Is your government ready to do it? I don't know. I know they're ready to talk to the Germans. But what I think is important is, are we ready to go beyond what is the obvious? And so we have to create sometimes things we didn't even imagine. That investment was a 540 million euro investment. The funding was mobilized in 3 weeks' time. Why? Why can you raise 500 million euros for this? For the very simple reason, if they had closed it down and had to clean up everything, it would have cost them €1 billion. So who were getting off the hook? Eni and the Italian government. And the insurance companies, of course, like Münchener Re. And we look at how can we package these elements, because the energy efficiency is tremendous, but the job generation comes along with it. And this is what we think is important. Increase efficiency. This is the last case I'm mentioning. I have hundreds of cases. But this is a technology for solar. You know where we developed it? In Sweden. I mean, why do you want to go to the solar richest country in the world in order to test solar? Why don't you go to the solar poorest? And if you make it work in Sweden, can you make it work in Greece? I think we would all agree, yes. Now, this technology works in Sweden. It's a photovoltaic cell sandwiched in capillary pipes. So 8 capillary pipes will keep the temperature of the PV always at 50 degrees Celsius, when you have the maximum generation of electricity. Why haven't we doing it? Why do we cool car engines and not PVs? Why do we only use one side of the PV and not both? Can you imagine all PV you install, you use one side, not both sides? Why not? Oh, says the engineers, because it gets too hot. Oh, cool it. No, then you use too much material. Yeah, maybe you use more material, but we generate 7 times more power and energy. 7 times. And then you have all these European programs on energy efficiency and on PV efficiency increases. Would you like to waste your money in a better way? This is the reality. That's a traditional PV panel, the yellow. 18% more power because you cool it. Then you generate the heat. And guess what? Solar panels work at night. You think I'm a joker? No, because black during the day absorbs heat. Black at night releases the heat. That means our capillary pipes at night have water of 6 degrees Celsius, with which you can do your air conditioning during the day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how things really work in nature. Can we just get a bit more creative? Do you want to have this industry, this solar industry here in Greece, or you continue to import the cheap stuff from China? November in Sweden, it works in November in Sweden. Everyone has hot water and power in Sweden in November. This is, to me, the challenges that we have to look at. I don't have the time to go into a lot more detail, but I wanted to give you a flavor of how I think and how I operate. I'm a nuisance for many people. I'm a big nuisance. But we want things to happen on the ground. We want the jobs to be generated. We want the entrepreneurs to wake up. We want the new business models to emerge. And we've been able to do this much better than we ever thought before. The framework for the frame that is used for these solar panels from Sweden are frames that use heat-resistant plastics we recycle from the waste dumps. So we generate another little job angle there. We will not spare one little reflection in order to generate the extra job. We are missing the jobs. That's where the greatest energy is. Now we're producing these ovens, these bakery ovens, for South Africa. People say, how did you get 100,000 jobs? Well, I'll give you 15,000 of the jobs. Instead of having one industrial bakery supply bread to 2 million people who survive on $1 a day, we're creating 5,000 bakeries. But 5,000 bakeries that solely work on solar energy. And we're not doing this with 12-volt DC or 350 DC or AC. We're just heating up the oil. If you're in South Africa, you just heat up the oil. That means during the day you go 300 degrees Celsius, at night you're 200 degrees Celsius. You have now an oven that works 24 hours a day. What else can you do? Only bread? No. You can start to do many other things. And now you have an oven that is not only producing heat, but is also producing power. So our street lights are connected to that. Our mobile phone chargers are connected to that, etc., etc., etc. We create 5,000 hubs. That's good for 15,000 jobs. What we need to do is a decision to do it. We need a clarity to do it. And people say, but gosh, that's going to require 40 million investment. Who's going to put up the 40 million? Well, the poor people of South Africa today are spending 370 million on buying junk bread. Because that's the value of the market. Now, if you can spend 370 million on buying bread that is bad for your health, then we can get 40 million in order for people to generate the bread themselves in their own ovens without the need for electricity. And there's no money from aid, not from anyone. And we don't care, because we're not going to wait till they finally wake up and realize that there is another oven possible. And there is on solar, it is also to be done. And we have one focus, just do it. I conclude. Most of the things I talk about for many people sounds like fantasy. So therefore, my main audience is children. Children from 3 years on. I write fables, I write children's stories. Because when you tell children that, these solar panels work at night, for the children, this is, of course, they work at night. Whereas if you stand in front of an audience of scientists, engineers, and say, this man is nuts. He may say he has a PhD, but certainly not an engineering PhD. Because we know that this is not possible. The beauty of children is they don't make any difference between fantasy and reality. Everything is reality. And what we're in need of transforming the economy, we're in need of having people who think that it's all fantasy, but we're going to turn it into reality. That's, to me, the only way to go forward. What we do in our work, wherever we work, in any community we work, we will set the targets, we'll have the strategies, but we will always inspire the children. I'm a father of 6. My youngest is 1. My eldest is 28. And to me, it's impossible to transform a society unless you give it to your children and you give it to the kids so that they can all jointly imagine things that, as Nelson Mandela said, seemed impossible until it's done. I'm so sorry. This was really actually a fantastic call. I mean, I just checking who's calling, but I didn't know. I would like to wish you success with your meeting. And I accepted to come here because if you look at a European corporation, if you look at your islands, if you want to come to El Hierro. Let's see. Let's see what happened in El Hierro. And in the end of the day, that's what we need to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize again that I have to go on. I cannot stay with you, but in the audience, they know how to get a hold of me and write me and let me know how you want to follow up and do things. We don't do analysis, we don't write business plans. In our organization, it's forbidden to write a business plan. It's forbidden to do the numbers. The numbers must be summarized on an A4 page, not more, by hand. And if it's not convincing enough, don't do it. For the rest, we need to speak to the heart, we need to speak to the mind, we need to make certain that people agree that this is a transformation we want to do. Thank you very much. 5 minutes of questions, if you have any.
Because he has to fly, Günther, and he's not going to stay with us. If there is anything that already results from the dream that he put us into reality, we can speak to him now. So, Mr. Delvaux, Karel, and also coming from locality of project in Greece, right? Okay, we will give you priority, Greece. Anybody else? Okay, so it's only 2 questions then you are going to have.
Okay, thank you.
Karel
Karel Delvaux from EcoPower from Belgium. Very inspiring presentation, thank you very much. You got many ideas, so that worked already. My question is, you're always talking about we. Is that the blue economy company or cooperative, or what is it?
Very good, thank you. We is sometimes the polite form of I. We don't write fables, I write the fables, but I say perhaps we. So we sometimes. We is 34 organizations around the world related to what is called ZERI, Zero Emissions Research and Initiatives. This was created in 1994 at the invitation of the Japanese government in preparation for the Kyoto Protocol. I was invited in '94 to come to Japan and assist the Japanese government to imagine what would a business model, a competitive business model look like if we have zero emissions, if we have zero waste. I had 4 people in the audience, no one was interested. I mean, hey, there was Al Gore, what would I do with Al Gore is there? So as a result, no one was interested in my proposals in '97. And that's when we created the ZERI foundations around the world, which are dedicated to the implementation of projects. We have one focus, implementation. The we is very important as well, is that we have a network of about 3,000 scientists who continuously contribute in order for us to double check the science and have clarity on the science. Is it possible now? Not in 5 years, now. And so that we have our scientific network that confirms or tells us you're off track. And if they say I'm off track, I will most of the time listen to them. That's the we.
Okay, next question. Your identity, please, louder so that everybody can meet each other here.
My name is Nikos. We have started a startup called Project Locality here in Greece. And we're trying to work with local small communities. Actually, it's one word question, and it's a huge problem here in Greece. So I want to hear a story. One word, bureaucracy.
So bureaucracy, whenever we engage with the government in order to eliminate the bureaucracy wherever possible. I'll give you a concrete example. When you have 29 projects you want to implement, like we're doing in the city of Johannesburg, you can imagine the bureaucracy is a problem. Because you need permits, you need tenders, you need specifications, etc. So one of the agreements is, with the city, before we start, is that no tenders. We will not go through tender process. It's corrupt, it doesn't work, and it's always too expensive. And if you have a few monopolies anyway, why do you ever want to do it? That's not the right argument. The right argument is that what we're saying is that we will secure total transparency of where all the value is generated in the process. And thanks to the total transparency, we will have an agreement with the investors who will say to us how much is enough. Is a 15% return enough now? Or are you insisting covertly on your 60% returns, like hedge funds always will look for? And so therefore what we're doing is we have an agreement, transparent, on how much is enough, what internal rates of return do we accept on things like a solar oven with these panels. And once we have an agreement on that, we allocate it directly. Because we know if we want to look for a competitor, it's going to take us 2-3 years. In the meantime, what is happening to all the people? So that is one thing. The second thing is that with many of the governments, we want them to change the payment system. If you want to grow the economy, money must circulate faster. Now, if you have to send it to a bank, the bank already sits there for 3 days. So we eliminate the banks. We create our bitcoins, we create our M-Pesas, we create our own currencies. Why? Because if the bread is delivered to the local clinic, within 10 minutes after delivery, the person who gave the bread has the money on his cell phone or her cell phone. And of course, that requires an agreement with the bureaucracy. Actually, it is elimination of the bureaucracy. And elimination of the corruption, because we know all too well that these invoices, in order to get them paid a bit faster, you got to give money underneath. So we don't want it anymore. So these are two. I have hundreds of practical solutions that we say. Now, if the government locally is not ready to do that, we are not working there. I mean, we behave like the Germans. You know, like Merkel. This is the way you do it, or out. Well, we do the same. You want a positive? This is the way. Because we can't get bureaucracy in between. People are suffering. Unemployment is way too high. Food and energy and water has to be produced much cheaper than we do today. And we will outcompete the Chinese wherever we can. And that needs to be done with another administrative approach. And so that's part of our exercise. Thank you.
Well, I don't know what you think, but I think that Gunther set the ball already in a very, very nice way for all of us. And I don't want to intervene at that stage. Just remember that in the file, what you have, there is an A4 page that is asking you your opinion. What are the strong and weak points? What are the opportunities and the weaknesses of public, private, and people? And so, if we are all going to work together after this congregation here, then we should have your opinion on that. We would like to collect that together with your address that we already have outside. So now I ask Dirk Knappen, that has invested already a great part of his enthusiasm and of his systematic work as the RES cooperatives, renewable energy sources, οι ανανεώσιμες του Βελγίου λοιπόν, at cooperative level. Και βέβαια, because Dirk is working very close to the European institutions, to the European Covenant of Mayors, and so he understands also the policy issues on the back. But he is here especially because when I met him in Sifnos, Madame Kalamara, that we have the island of Sifnos is here, the island of Creta is here. Creta, where are you? Here, so that you can refer to them. The island of Kefalonia is here already. So anybody else that comes from the municipalities, please be sure to know that you are here, because actually when we talk public-private people partnership, Dirk, what is that?
Well, it's working together, and I think we try to, as RESCOPs, we try to support people locally to work together, to cooperate, and we try to involve everybody in the whole process. Now, I'm not the eloquent speaker that Günther Pauli is, and I don't have the technical background either. I'm also a bit of a figure cruncher, so you are going to be seeing some figures also. But what I try to bring to you, is don't let yourself be blocked by the barriers you have in your mind. I often say, take them out, put them in front of you in a stack, and then give yourself the chance to think freely, and then you will be able to do what Günter Pauli was explaining, find solutions that nobody would ever think of, and then go against the barriers that you may find, and then you find a way to overcome the bureaucracy. Well, this is a bit of the list of what I was going to do, introduction of what is going on. It's a framework of where we are working. Common and public goods for the benefit of local communities, renewable energy supporting the communities, a sustainable energy system, getting started as locally, and then more information, which I'm probably going to leave, but then you know that it is available. I'm a product developer. I went in Denmark in '97 to study in a renewable energy center. I've been organizing tours to show people how far you can get. By now, the peninsula that we were visiting is a 100% green electricity peninsula and 85% green heat peninsula. So that's what can be done already today. Working for RESCOOP, which is a federation of groups and cooperatives of citizens for renewable energy. Cooperatives are groups of people working together to solve their own problems and in a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. We see cooperatives as a third way in between purely public and purely private, in between the large scale and the very individual, and I'm going to come back on that because that's important. And then in between the 1% return you get on your savings and the investor return on investments asked 30 to 50 or 100%. We are involved in a number of projects. I'm going to go to pass these because it's something Karel Dervaux is going to talk about later on. One thing I want to mention, especially because there's so many young people here, is a network we are starting up, a Sustainable Energy Youth Network, where we try to involve young people into the sustainable energy developments. Right now, we are in a world of suffering in a certain way. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, hardly anyone had these. By now, every second African has one like this. They know by now how we distribute resources, how we use things and how we share. So what we see is we are entering and we are realizing that we have an ecological problem, that we have a social problem, and that we have an economical problem in the unfair distribution of things. We had Earth Overshoot Day on the 19th of August last year. That means your weekly wage is finished by Thursday. You don't have the Saturday and the Friday and the Saturday. So thinking that we can grow out of the crisis the way we do right now is impossible. We can only work with things that are based on the sun. And then I'm talking about growing organic food, using renewable energy, and harvesting materials. You have heard quite a lot of that from Günter Pauli. This is an organization where they do exactly that. Grow organic food, use materials, natural materials, and use renewable energy, all in one social enterprise in the north of France. We were talking about common and public goods, and what's happening here in Greece is that the outsiders are forcing you to let go of what you have as resources. The common goods is the water, the wind, the beaches, the land, whatever you have here as natural resources. That's something valuable and worth to keep here in your own control. And then there's the public goods. That's the things that we have paid for, all of you have paid for, the infrastructure, say. Also something it's better to keep that as your own and to be in control. So citizens should claim them. Here in Greece, a number of groups are already doing that. They don't let go of what they have. The 136 movement in Thessaloniki, keeping the water under control of the citizens and not under control of outsiders. That's one of the examples. There are a number of others here in Greece. What we can do with common and public goods is you can turn whatever resistance there is, you can turn into positive energy, because people can then control what they do. When you see that people resist the construction of wind turbines, it's often because they have no control of what's happening. They see money flowing out of their community just as it did before. They see some external investor coming in and taking the money. What we can do is with renewables is harvesting values, and I'm using harvesting because then you have to invest something, you have to do something. But then you can also collect a number of values. You can collect 90 euros per inhabitant per month. That's something. But the other things are employment, as Günther Pauli said, peace, solidarity, security of supply, stability in the prices. So that's what you can gain. This is an example of how in Denmark people take things in their own hands very locally. This is the biggest housing building in Denmark. In 2009, when the climate conference was happening in Copenhagen, they were going to put up a PV plant on the south facade. They were going to put up a solar collector, a thermal collector on the roof. What was happening? The inhabitants of the building had to decide about the PV plant. The inhabitants of the neighborhood had to decide about the solar plant, because that was going to inject in the district heating system. So you see layers of democracy building up. They were building 3 wind turbines in the harbor. The community took one of the 3 as a cooperative and is now operating it as a cooperative. So you see small layers of how we decide ourselves as people. These are a number of figures. What is important here is that we see that the amount of energy we have available is such that for Europe we need 0.5% of, not even, of what the solar is giving us to cover all of our energy consumption. What I'm showing here is also that for the price of CO2 is far lower than the price we spend on the fossil fuels to emit the CO2. That means that if we can produce the energy locally, we keep that money in our own communities, and you see how much it can be. Here in Greece too, you have an enormous potential, and this is solar irradiation to show what is possible. In reality, what you can do is you need here in Greece not even 0.2% of the energy that is available. What I wanted to give you also is that you used to have 3 billion million euros a year in energy bill. What you have now is somewhere between 8 and 11. So that means that your economy has to produce 5 to 8 billion euros extra. That's the sort of the shortages you have in your budget. So that's where you capturing energy could prevent you from having the shortages in your budget. Often people are saying renewables energy are too expensive. This is what's happening in Germany. By now they are at 30 euros per megawatt hour. You see constant drop in the prices. In Germany and in Scandinavia, electricity is now cheaper than crude oil. So they are sort of supporting electric vehicles because they use no petrol anymore. And even Moody's, this is 2012, even Moody's says, yeah, solar and wind are going to push thermal generators out. This is showing that Ptolemaios 5 is probably going to be a stranded asset before it's finished. Something important to see here in Greece, I think. And on the Greek islands, you are now spending a lot of money in supporting the electricity production. You could also have a production locally that is much cheaper and give, as Günther Pauli said, you can tell the government, we don't need the support anymore, we can do it by ourselves. When you let us go, we can do it, and we produce at a lower price than what you can have, what we used to have. How does it work? You can combine, and this is what's happening in the north of Denmark. It's not completely what you could do here in Greece. What they used to do was use wind and solar for electricity only, and then use either coal or biomass to produce together electricity and heat. By now, what they are doing is using solar and wind for electricity production, but at times when solar and wind are in excess, they use it for production of for hot water and inject that in the district heating system. So they absorb the excess electricity and make something useful with that. This is how in Germany they have been studying. One of the arguments is, yeah, but there's an unbalance because we are producing at times when there's sun and wind. This is how in Germany the picture what it could look like when on an annual basis we look what is producing when and what is consuming when. And you see that it's getting into balance for a whole year. That's what the study did. And actually the link is a video of how that worked. There are villages by now, Günther Pauli also talked about that, who make a complete set of renewable energy based production, including local biomass fuels. This is an example of a sustainable energy system in Austria. In 2000, they had 4,000 inhabitants and purchased 6 million euros worth of fossil fuel. By 2012, they had created 1,000 jobs, attracted 50 businesses, and are now producing 13 million euros worth of renewable energy, local renewable energy. There's not even a wind turbine there. So you can do that also if an island says, I don't see a possibility for wind, there's other options. The municipality service, technical service is now promoting this worldwide. So there's possibilities too. And so on your islands, when you build up a system, including using waste flows for organic waste flows, you are solving your organic waste problem, and in the meantime, you are backing up your solar and wind. That's the kind of things you could be doing. To get started on an island and to get people, or in a municipality, to get people involved, we often suggest start in a school. And you heard Günther Pauli say, you have to start with children. They back up the ideas. This is an excellent way of involving parents and grandparents into a project. You start in a school, you build up, you do some energy renovation, you start reducing your consumption, you add a solar power plant, and you generate money for a cooperative of parents that can support that project. So there's a place to get started if you want to start up and collect a group of people to work with. And then there's possible other things that's going on in Belgium and in Croatia now is that people are creating their people's bank, or that you could create a green energy supplier which can then work with people and link the local production of PV or wind or renewable energy with the customers directly. without going to the market. This is about what I wanted to say. I have a number of links in the presentation, so you are going to have that presentation and you are going to be able to work with that later on, find the links, find some of the suggestions of projects that are already going on. That was what I wanted to tell you. Yeah, I saw it. I think Karel is going to be the next to present his presentation. He's going to talk about the experiences of Rescope, of MeSize, and of EcoPower, which is the biggest cooperative in Europe, energy supplier and producer of renewable energy. Karel.
Λοιπόν, να ζητήσουμε συγγνώμη για λίγο για την καθυστέρηση, για την ομιλία. As you understood, both from Dirk Knaupen and also from Günther Pauli, extremely big possibilities are possible. But then I think that, Karel, you are ready to speak now. And so let's see how a cooperative started, what they have managed up to date, and how economies of scale can be created by the ones that they are doing the job right now.
Okay, thank you very much. You will see in my presentation that Dirk and me, we work together quite close. It's the same layout. Dirk focused, let's say, on the general picture. I will focus on the case EcoPower, which is a cooperative in Belgium, in the northern part of Belgium, Flanders. Flanders is a very populated part of Europe. We live 6 million people in a small piece of land. Altogether, Belgium is 11 million, so comparable to Greece, but the country is much smaller. It's very strange. I heard some similar things in my background as from Günther Pauli. I started about 15 years ago in the renewable energy sector. And for Researchers Network, of course, maybe it was hidden a bit in the previous presentations, the fact that a lot is possible with renewable energy now is thanks to technological development. We can blame, let's say, the nuclear power plants and the fossil fuel power plants, but 40 years ago, this option that we have now was not there because the technology was not ripe. But now it is there. So I will just add on to the previous presentations to convince you that we can do a lot now. So we started for Researchers Network, then really went back to the basis with EcoPower in Flanders, tried to develop projects from scratch and bring people together to invest in them. And now we see this example works. We want to bring it out to the rest of Europe and convince citizens all over Europe to do the same. And because we really think we're living in a time that opportunities are there. There is a shift, globally in fact even, but certainly in Europe, towards sustainable energy. In the energy sector, a lot of things are moving. And we have to realize as citizens that we will pay anyway. We will pay it anyway. We pay taxes. Governments will use that taxes to do things. Maybe not the things we want them to do, but they use our money. We are consumers. We have to pay the invoice for the energy, for the fuel, for the car, for the electricity, for the heat. So this money is gone anyway, and there's a lot of money, as previous speakers have shown in figures. And the money that we have left over, we put on the bank, and you all know it doesn't bring anything now. So, but others will use that money to get things going, to invest and create added value for themselves. It's better that we use that money to invest and create added value for ourselves and for our other neighbors, for the other citizens around. So now about EcoPower. we combine, in fact, two functions. The most important function, and that's where we started as a cooperative, is to develop renewable energy projects. Develop means there's nothing, and you have to find out how you can have something. Can you have a wind farm somewhere, or wind turbine, or solar PV panels, or energy production based on biomass, whatever. There's nothing. You have to try to get something up and running. First, you need to be allowed to do that. You need to have the permissions of the people who own the ground, the permissions from the government to do that activity, this economic activity. So that's really develop a project up to a moment that you are ready to take an investment decision. You say, okay, I have all permissions, everybody agrees now. If I would have the money, I could invest, buy that equipment, have it installed, and have it started operate the equipment. So that's to develop. Of course, when you can take the decision, you must then also have the money to be able to pay your suppliers. So then you can say either you develop a project and then you sell it to somebody or a big company who has all the money, or you try to find the money yourself and you invest yourself. And that's exactly what cooperatives do. They find the money by asking many, many people. The typical example we say is, and that's about value all over Europe, one wind turbine, you need 1,000 people. So, but talking about the wind turbine, the usual size now, maybe not on the islands, but on the mainland, 2 megawatt wind turbine, you're talking about 3 million euros altogether, the cost to have it founded, have the foundations in the ground and have it built. So with 1,000 citizens, you're able to raise enough equity to finance such a wind turbine. So it's not too much, 1,000 people. Even in a little community, a little village, you have 1,000 families, so it's not too much. EcoPower started in 91, but just a few people. It's only in the year 99 that we really got going, because there was a first concrete wind project that could be realized, and then we invited then you have a concrete project where you need investment, where you need money to invest, and then many citizens were invited to join. And we ended up last year with close to 50,000 citizens from all over Flanders who have bought one or more shares in the cooperative EcoPower. It's about €1 million equity now, the company, and we invested in all kinds of renewable energies, as you see, wind, PV, small hydro. Flanders is a plat pays, it's a flat country, but we still have some small hydro. Very recently, we produced in a wood pellet factory. Maybe it's not so much known in Greece, but I know there are plans also to produce wood pellets in Greece, because it's a heating fuel for private people. And I think especially in Greece and also on the islands, you don't need like 8 months heating for your house. It's maybe 2 or 3 months, and it's not the same installed capacity, the power. You don't need a boiler of 20 or 25 kilowatts to heat your house, maybe a small one or just a stove. And then wood pellets are very convenient to avoid the use of fuel oil. And apparently, the context we have in Greece, they will use the wood that is waste from olive production, olive trees, to produce wood pellets. So that's very clever to use this waste to make a very valuable heating fuel for private persons instead of heating oil. So I'm very keen on following up that project, but I don't know the actual status. Also in Flanders, we invested in a real facility, a factory, to produce those wood pellets, because it's not something simple. It's an investment of 10 million euros. It's a big plant where you have big piles of trees, stems lying, and they are used to produce the pellets in order to be able to offer our shareholders this heating fuel. Another thing, we started from the very beginning, as we took some speed and had really some
some activities, is to support similar cooperatives that contacted us for assistance. And that was typically then in south of Belgium, Wallonia, where we managed to support them and get going with wind farms. The other activity of EcoPower, and this is quite special, is that we're also a supplier of electricity. And now also fuel, green heating fuel, like the pellets as I mentioned, and it's all focused on the shareholder, on the member of the cooperative. So we do not supply to people who are not having at least one share. So it's like, instead of you have a house, and you said, okay, I want to produce part of my electricity, I put on PV panels, or I put on, and you produce your own electricity, you say, it's too difficult for me to do that. I just take 250 euros, that's one share, one cooperative share, and I put it on the invoice on the bank account of EcoPower, and I remember, and I expect them to set up projects that produce electricity for me, and also to supply that electricity at home, using the system that is in that country or region, the system that is legally established. As a supplier, you need to have a license from the government to be a supplier. So there are all kind of rules. Bureaucracy comes in again. Yes, you have to go through all that. So you need to have a license as a supplier. We did that effort because the shareholders, at a certain moment, the members in the General Assembly, there were about 300 people, they told us now the market will be free in the Flemish part of Belgium. That was in 2003. Now we really expect you, Board of EcoPower, to become a supplier, because we want not only to produce green electricity with our own investment, we want that electricity to be supplied at home with me. I want to close the circle. I don't want to bother doing something in my own house. I just invested in the cooperative, and I want the cooperative to supply also the electricity. And this appeared to be quite an important step, because as a board of EcoPower, we said this is really not what we want. It's a lot of administration, a lot of work to do all this, because supplying is an administrative work. You have to count how much electricity you put on the net and how much you can take off and supply to all the people and make invoices. It's purely paperwork. But and then we said we will restrict this only to shareholders to make it easier. And we have a very simple tariff to make it easy. The tariff is per kilowatt hour. If you don't consume any electricity, your invoice is 0. If you use 1,000, it's 1,000 times. It's a linear tariff. Because using this tariff, you encourage people to reduce their consumption. Because when there is a fixed part of your energy invoice, energy bill, it doesn't matter too much if you consume a bit more or a bit less. You have to pay this fixed part anyway. So we thought this is not a good idea. We have a linear tariff. So people are really encouraged to reduce their consumption, and they see the effect on their invoice immediately. So this was between a balance, like making electricity or making it attractive for our shareholders to become a client for the supply of electricity, and not to punish them with an expensive price on an annual base. The price per kilowatt hour is quite high, but on an annual base, our price is quite good, because this fixed part is not there. And it turned out to be a good idea, because many people joined, wanted to become clients. But to become client, you first have to buy at least one share. So they became shareholder, and then after some time they understood what we were doing. And then we speaking to the neighbors and so on, and that made the cooperative grow until what we are now, 50,000 families. Okay, you have been reading already. Greenpeace and others, they like this idea. And what is most important for us is that we see that it really works, without spending any effort or money in promoting energy efficiency and blah, 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 and campaigns or whatever. We don't do anything, 0. we just put this tariff, which is linear and quite expensive per kilowatt hour, and this makes that people reduce their consumption. So over 5 years, it's close to 40%. And many people also do invest themselves in a PV installation at home to produce electricity at home, because then it's worthwhile, because your consumption that you take from the net goes down very drastically as soon as you have your PV system, and then what is left to pay it's much lower. And with this tariff of EcoPower, it's much more interesting to do so. So they do. The same applies with the wood pellets. It doesn't make sense to just replace your traditional boiler with oil or gas with a pellet boiler. It doesn't make sense at all. Why not? Because you will consume too much pellets. You first need to make investments in your house to reduce the demand for heating. So insulate well, double glazing, and so on. And this is a process that really takes years. I realized in Greece it's a very completely other story than in Belgium or the north of Europe, where we have to heat a lot. More than three-fourths of your cost of energy is heating. It's not electricity. But by doing so, people really again are encouraged to first invest in energy efficiency in their homes, and then they can replace their existing heating system by system heating on pellets, and then it makes sense. So there we effectively can link the investment in renewables and investment in energy efficiency. So after 10 years, we realized that it really works well what we're doing. And then we got news from others all over Europe doing more or less the same. We got in contact. But of course, you don't have the financial means to start traveling around, speaking with people all the time. No, we had to work every day to develop more projects, to do the supply of energy and so on, to communicate with our members. And thanks to a European project, we managed to get some funding, allowing us to go on and talk. So during 3 years, we have been talking with those we identified in Europe doing more or less the same. And we found out that there are quite a lot. There are quite a lot of initiatives, over 2,000 of citizens all over Europe trying to do the same, have a similar idea, also always use the more or less the same concept. So this really brought us to creating a federation. EcoPower is one of the founders of this federation. In order to get the things organized on a European level, and to make sure that when people start, that they can build on the experience others had. And one of the basic principles that we ask energy cooperatives or groups of people who want to do the same to follow is the principles of the International Cooperative Alliance, ICA, to make sure that it's, like Dirk mentioned, it's something, the activity should be between public and private. It should not be private, with private profits going to one party and one single entity controlling this cooperative. No, it should be always under the control of all citizens that decide to join. One person, one vote principle. And the company should always be owned by all these people jointly. And then also all the investments, all the activities made by the company, by the cooperative company, are owned by all the citizens jointly. Okay, that's a lot of blah blah. Let's say what we want to do. A reason why at the European level they're very much interested in what energy cooperatives do is because of the money. It's very simple. They're very surprised that citizens manage to do this quite impressive investments in energy technology without the traditional way of the big banks. And exactly, I find a lot of similarities in speech with Günther Pauli. you go a little bit behind, besides the normal way of working. You don't get a slave to the bank. You find your way to do it without a bank. And we tried now also to organize this financing issue a bit better. And first, of course, is already that you collaborate as an energy cooperative with local authorities, especially municipalities that sign the Covenant of Mayors. But the other important things is that you try to bundle, also to have a financial collaboration between cooperatives, that you can give each other loans, very simple, and that makes it work very, very often. Also that you try to bundle your projects to make it one big investment, and not only renewables, but also energy efficiency investments. And then with several cooperatives together, you get investment volumes where it becomes easier to get them financed. Very strange, but that's the way it is, because then you can come to investment volumes where financial institutions like European Investment Bank and so on have really instruments available for this kind of investments. And this again, we proposed it on a European level, as we then working with several energy cooperatives, West Corps all over Europe. We proposed a European proposal under the Horizon 2020 program, again, to finance this additional work, which is really outside the normal work of the cooperative, that you otherwise would not be able to do. Because we got some funding from this program, really to elaborate on this way of working together between cooperatives. So then I end by saying that now everything is ready for any group of citizens, especially here in Greece. We heard it before, you have abundant resources in renewables. We should not focus only on energy, but hook in also water, employment. This is very true. I really had a kind of aha-erlebnis here when Günther was speaking. So this you should just put it into practice in Greece, and through the RESCOPE network on the European level, you will find really people who have the same mindset and are ready to support you in your initiatives. I finish with this picture of the city of Eeklo, because this is the city where EcoPower could realize its first project. And it really has to be said that a collaboration with local authorities really is a necessity. It's not that they give you money. No, they should support your idea and give you trust and time to realize what you want to do, instead of choosing for a traditional big player, big energy company. And the city of Eeklo, they decided to do so in 98, when they asked companies to develop wind farms, some wind turbines on their territory, and they chose for EcoPower. They had the courage and the vision to choose for EcoPower, which was a group of idiots, just 5 people, with a company was established with no employees, about 7,000 or 6,000 euro on the bank, wanted to realize a wind project of 4 million euros, while Electrabel was proposing and so on. So it's the same as you might be here, like PPC is doing everything and we cannot do anything. We had the same feeling. But like idiots, we proposed anyway. I had a plan. And then the city council, they decided to choose for us. They were quite courageous. So thank you for your attention.
So, Karel, we all like to thank you very much for sharing with us the fact that 50,000 people in Belgium, you have already created your own cooperative, you have your own energy, and you are overflowing in terms of know-how, financial resources, and will to cooperate with us, that we are maybe in an embryonic situation, but again, this crisis seems that has been a very good opportunity for us, And I can confess that here we have two regions already participating. Region of Creta is here, region of Attica is here. We have more municipalities than what we had before. Kozani, we had Kefalonia, they are still here. We have Creta. Now we have also Thiva inside the room. We have also Nikia inside the room. Please raise your hands so that we see you, that you are here. And definitely Stella Kivelou talking about and co-organizing today with us here. Thank you, Stella. From the social university. I would call it social engineering university, just to pass the word to Mr. Markatos, ex-rector of the DUA, National Technical University, and his team and his professors that they are still in the room, to tell to the embryonic efforts that the Greek cities or citizens directly, like you have been until you became also the backing of the city, that indeed you are not alone. I mean, you have all what is necessary, and it is only the bad ourselves, ο κακός εαυτός μας, that we have to fight if we are going to do anything better than what we are doing so far. I understand that Denmark now wants to speak by Skype, and Sanso, the island that managed to have Dirk, they have to manage 100% their own energy, and so the island is flying alone without necessarily needing connection with any other grid or any other conventional fuels we were using. And when you are ready, we can talk to Mr. Sorensen. So he is going to present to us what happened in the island of Samso in Denmark. And if he is not there yet, then a small introduction by Dirk. What is happening in Denmark? They will tell us directly.
Hello.
He's there. So we are ready to listen to you. Who are you and why you want to talk to us?
I'm from the Danish island of Samsø. And I'm going to talk to you about an energy transformation from 1997 till today, about how this community took on the challenge to be the Danish renewable energy island. Okay, we're going.
Okay.
You see a nice picture now?
Now we see a very nice picture island in a graphic way, and now we see, yes, the sea with your boats, what you see,
Good.
I suppose.
All right, so perfect. You had it till now. That the island is like any island, very beautiful, and we try to keep it like very beautiful, because this is also what tourists want to do. They want to come to this island to enjoy the landscape and the nature and all the things here. So you can say energy transformation is also a critical point where people fear the change because they see a lot of wind turbines, they see a lot of changes in the landscape, and therefore there's a lot of opposition in the local community towards this, because the tourist industry is important for us. We have addressed this also saying that, of course, we will not put wind turbines in the landscape. You can see from here, this is a landscape with the wind turbines inside it, and you can look carefully, you cannot see any wind turbines. And still, we are self-supplied by wind power. Did you see the next picture now with a very, very red sky?
Yes, yes.
And some wind turbines. You can see in the background, there's some fume coming up just left to the wind turbine on the right-hand side of the picture. This is from the power plant on the mainland. This is about 15 kilometers away from the island. And you can see this is a coal-fired power plant, and they are releasing quite a lot of pollution from the power plant. And we have said to people on Samsø, maybe we should look at the wind turbines as ventilators, that is ventilating the smoke from the power plant away from the island. So we can actually use them also a little bit humoristic sense, and we can make a laugh, because we are doing better than this. We try to avoid pollution by having wind turbines. You get my point?
Yes. So
this is the offshore wind turbines. When we erected these turbines, they were the biggest offshore wind turbines in the world. This is in 2003. Now there's been established some really, much bigger. But this was a very great effort from the island to do this. We had to make a lot of big bank loans. We had to call everybody to the bank to sign contracts to make ourselves able to pay for this, because this is entirely owned by the local community. The local municipality or the local government, in your case maybe, owns 5 out of 10, and the rest is owned by investment groups or co-op ownership groups also. And this is, of course, also one of the keys to success, that we invite people to be part owners of the project. We use proven technology, as you also know it in Greece. We have a lot of solar thermal for hot water. Even in Denmark, where sunshine is not that frequent, we have in the summertime not such a great heat demand for space heating, but we have heat demand for showers and hot water. So therefore, we have included big community solar panels that is producing hot water for all the houses in the neighborhood, which is producing about 25% of the yearly heat consumption of the island. So solar is still playing, even being so very much in the north, quite a significant role in the energy mix. We tap energy out of the biomass. Straw from farms is a valuable product also instead of imported fuels. So we have created a local business where we buy the fuel from the local farmers, and that's making them happy instead of the imported fuels. And we are getting cheaper energy. The cost of 1 kilowatt from straw is about 1/8 of the oil price. So it costs like much less than oil. So this revenue or this cost difference is paying for the installation. So this is a little bit more philosophical. What does it mean to be sustainable, or sustainability? What does that actually mean? Well, I kind of create that to sustain things is that you can keep things in order. You can keep your energy circular. You can keep your circular economy, and you have to be able to do it. So to sustain things and to be able to do it is a practical thing. And I think island people are very good at making practical solutions for this, and to be able to sustain things and keep the ability of doing it instead of just calling somebody to administrate it for you. Which means that you have to define yourself. Who are you? There's a tendency that people on islands are very proud people. They like their life on the islands, but they are also very sad about the situation because the children are moving away. There's a lack of jobs on the island because there's no big industry that wants to establish themselves on the island. So if you define yourself as a poor islander that cannot do anything because it's so sad, everything, then I think it's too pessimistic. I think you need to define yourself as your own master, and you are able to do things and make your own plans. So this is my island. Do you see a map of a Google map now?
Yes.
So this is my island. It's about 30 kilometers long. And from north to south, there's actually 2 different communities. So if you see the little patch on the north, this is the northern community where they speak a different dialect. And then you have a nature area in the middle where there's a lot of little islands and a very shallow area where we have migrating birds. This is a nature protected area. International protection scheme is there, and nothing is going on. There's no houses, nobody is living there. And we think it's a very precious area. We like it very much. In the South Island, we have all the farming community, and this is also where we have the wind turbines and the energy installations. Also on our island, we think that the people in the north are a little bit strange. The civilized island is the south, and people in the north are a little bit crazy. And I think that is also the thing in Greece and other places, that people who live in other places than where we come from are not really like us. I don't know if that is true. You can think about that.
The audience says yes, it is.
We also think that we are the right people and the other ones are a little bit different. But just for your own identification, this is Denmark. And if you make a perfect circle around Denmark, you can see Samsø, my island, is right in the middle. So we are the center of Denmark. Up to the right, you have Sweden, and below Denmark, you have Germany. But you can see this perfect map of Denmark. Samsø is right in the middle. You agree?
They say yes.
Okay. So this is Europe, the European Union. And you see, maybe this map is maybe a little bit optimistic seen from my place, but Samsø is right in the center of Europe too. Do you agree?
Well, you talk to Greece, so you don't ask twice.
Maybe you should make your own center, but now I'm going to prove that Samsø is also the center of the earth. So maybe this is wrong seen from your perspective, and this is exactly where I want to address this. That I think that everybody, also the Greek islands, are right in the center of Earth, and we are definitely in the center of our own decision. And the next smart step or the next intelligent move is going to happen from your own backyard. And I think that the whole global awareness about climate change and the other things is, of course, interesting, seen from a very big perspective, but it doesn't really matter for the local and daily life of a Greek island or a Danish island. We have to look at the perspective seen from our doorstep. And I think that is very important in the thinking, that we don't believe that the world will come to us. We need to address our own plan and our own dairy. So this is local people. You can see that they probably don't look very Greek, but they look very Danish, and they are a little bit age also. They are plus 50 somehow. I'm the one on the right hand side. I'm probably the youngest in the group also. But this is typical island people who are making decisions, because the younger people are going to cities to go to university and study. So we need to be able to make decisions here also. But I think these are smart people, and they have a good life here. When you do this, it's important also to remember that a self-organizing society needs to meet a lot. We have a lot of meetings where we sit down and talk about things. We have a huge responsibility for things to happen. Very little support, because the central administration in Athens, or in our case in Copenhagen, doesn't really pay so much attention to the daily life of island communities. We have a declining number of members of society because people are getting older and they die off, and there's not a lot of birth. The birth rate is not so high. We have a great possibility to be a leader, because we need badly leaders in the local community, and promotion of your own ideas. It's very important that ideas come from your own background, and you have to also accept that you have limited resources to do it. And still, I think we have a chance of getting somewhere, because we can define common ground, but from very different reasons. Different reasons could be that you have tourist industry in one case, you have incoming tourists who wants to see the island as it was 100 years ago, and you have local people who wants to see some development, some business. But the common ground is kind of, we all need this island or this particular society or community to stay alive, because that's why we are here. This is because it's a living community and not a museum. Then we also need to identify what we are restricted by. I mean, we cannot do anything on islands. We can only do limited things, because we don't have access to all resources, and we don't have access to all the details of a modern community. But we can express what we need. And I think in many cases, if we do that with a common voice, then we actually also sometimes get what we need. So we need to have a vision, a dream about the future, and to be able to express this dream so clearly that people understand that this is what we are, this is what we dream about, and this is where we want to go in the future. We need to kind of light the little fire of new innovation and new ideas, and gather people around this fireplace so we can sit down and talk about what is actually the objectives of the life we want to have here, seen from a local perspective. I know there's a lot of consultants and a lot of people from outside who want to come and tell us what to do and what not to do, but I think it's very important that if you want them on board this project, you need to invite them into this circle, so they'll sit with you and be responsible with you also, so they will be part of the community and not some external experts who is telling you what to do and what not to do. And this myth, we also say we need to find the blacksmith. Because you can say that the myth in the old days, the blacksmith was the smart guy. He knew how to bend steels, and he knew a lot of very, difficult things and how to handle it. And you needed to call him if you had a problem you needed to solve. So the symbol of the blacksmith is, who do you want to call today to get some solutions and some answers? And then the system is a modern system of today can actually do things. We have smart grids, and we have smart energy systems that can operate and do things also in a local context. So it's not so simple and what you call restricted as it was in the old days. We can also use modern technologies on the islands and kind of leapfrog or frog leap the development patterns that they have done on the mainland. We can go straight from a very old paradigm to a new paradigm. And then we have to give up the idea that there's a headquarters somewhere that is either the solution of a problem or sometimes also the restriction of the problem. And inside the headquarters, there's still people like us who is working on the daily jobs here. And they also want to be gathered around the fireplace, and then we can start making networks. You have to identify who you need to be in this network to be able to cooperate in the future and find ways to get your hands on the development tools that you need for your project development. You can't do it alone, and you have to have a a good network of friends and relatives and cooperative partners to be able to do this. And you have to work on this network very hard to identify who is the core people of this business. So again, back to the commodities, that's equals biodiversity plus people. Biodiversity in this context means that we are a structure of people that creates the social life of an island. This is the biodiversity. We are more than just our own kind. There's many different points of view, and there's many different people here. And this is also commodity. Then the last point is to say that it's all about bread and butter, actually. It's about having a good life, so you have time to sit down and have a coffee with your friends and be able to feed your family and have a good life. So if we can do that by producing own energy and by changing from imported fuels, where you don't have a saying, to the local fuels where you have a saying in the production, then this might be interesting for more people. And then you need somebody like me, kind of a guy that who wants to do this. Kind of one of these persons who can't help working with energy transformation. And I think you have these key persons. You can always find them on islands, these originals who can't help it and who wants to do things and change the world. And you have to help them a little bit and nurse them so they don't lose their confidence in the development, because in the future they will be your helpers. So this was the little pitch from my island, and I hope you liked it and you understood, and I'm sorry for the little technical startup. You can see more at the energyacademy.dk, the website in the bottom. There's both video links and links to press material, because we've had a lot of international press, and I even think you can find Greek press material also at the website. So thank you for me, and hope you have a good conference, and I'm ready. If there's any questions, that's fine also.
Søren, because we cannot keep you all the time online, I would like to ask the audience if there is any question or any remark about the work that is being done right now in Samsø in Denmark, then you have the floor now, while for the rest of the speakers you will have later possibility to discuss with them. Is there anything that we would like to ask Søren, or we would like to say to him? Until you maybe think of something, what I can tell you, Søren, is that finally, even the small difficulties on the technical part, it passed very well. We heard very, very well what you said. I can inform you that here they are filling commodities now. The only thing that we cannot feel is to have you with us, and to have you in the island of Kefalonia, that is in front of me, of Creta, that is in front of me. I mean, the people are here. Sifnos, that is here already. These are the embryonic, let's say, efforts that we have already around us, and several others that I think that they are getting courage now. Like I'm receiving the messages, they watch you right now in Sicily. Nino Paterno is there. He's telling me that they would like also to invite you. Also from Moldova, Nicolae is there. He's just reporting that mainland Moldova would like to have more of this. And if there is no question for you, then we would like to thank you very much. You can still watch it through the streaming online. Are you connected through that, in case any of your colleague or you would like to continue? So from us, thank you very, very much.
You are welcome. You're welcome, and I enjoy the rest of the conference, and say hello to the Greek people. I'm a frequent visitor of the Greek islands. I like you very much, so I hope the best, and have a good day.
Yes, this is what they like you also very much. This is what they tell me from here. And so make sure. When are you coming next for Easter, maybe?
Okay. No, not this time. I'm going to another place in Easter time, but
okay,
hopefully soon.
Let us know. Everybody here will know that you arrived in Greece, and then you are going to have repeated invitations like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ευχαριστώ. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Now, if we are ready, let's talk about money. Let's talk about crowdfunding. Let's see how Goran Yeras managed to organize the ethical bank in Croatia, something that also here we have started already
with the crowdfunding. I know that the time is just overflowing from our discussion. After this talk, then we will have also Vanessa from REMIDA project to give us an input. Is Goran there, or Vanessa should proceed? Goran is ready. And so, Dirk, you think that we have enough money in our pockets, or the bill, what we paid in the electricity, if we calculate how much all of us we pay per month in here, is enough capital to liberate us from the energy burden, you say?
Yes, that's mainly what I was telling the people on Sifnos. That's where I have been working in the frame of a European project. We had Sifnos as a pilot. And so we have been discussing the opportunities. I did also some calculations for the other islands in Greece, and there you can, as Günther Pauli said about El Hierro, you can let go of the subsidies that you get now from the mainland on the islands, and that means that it's also going to be a lot cheaper on the mainland to produce energy. And here in Greece, with the sun you have and with the wind you have, you can produce at below the cost of what you are paying right now. For instance, for the lignite production, it's still cheaper to produce with renewables like wind and sun.
Very good. So Goran is ready there. I hope that we are. Yes, Goran, welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Very well, actually.
Okay, I'm turning on the video now as well, so
and also
you can see me too.
A young, nice man also, yes, so we see that.
Okay. Okay, so you are ready? Should I start or?
Yes. Actually, we are here from the academia, from the private sector, from the local government. All of us, we feel equal. We are all citizens, and we would like to hear what's happening in Croatia when it comes to financing our endeavor to decrease energy cost for our houses and for our families.
Okay, thank you for calling me. Hello to everyone listening to me. I'm really sorry that I couldn't be in Athens today together with you. I was looking forward to it. I had also made some other plans to visit and make some other meetings, but unfortunately some very important meeting of our cooperative emerged this afternoon, so I need to attend it, and that's why I needed to skip the Athens. I will try to be as brief as possible to tell you about the main points of the new financing initiative that is happening in Croatia, which is trying to promote models and opportunities for solidarity economy. So the organization I'm coming from is called Cooperative for Ethical Financing. And we are working on a project called eBank. So our cooperative is basically a cooperative which is gathering all different actors of the Croatian society. We have individual citizens in there. We have also NGOs, so non-governmental organizations. We have cooperatives, other cooperative and cooperative associations. We have workers' unions in it. We have also companies, usually small and medium companies, which are also doing something related to the social economy. And finally, we have municipalities, and all of those actors. And we were in the time of founding, and that was in April last year. The largest cooperative by the number of founders of the initial members in Croatia. We all gathered together to found and to work on a project of formation of eBank. And eBank is supposed to be an ethical bank which works on the principles of ethical banking as they are defined by FEBEA, that's the European Federation of Ethical Alternative Banks. And it should be the first such a bank in Croatia. So there are some legal things. For example, in Croatian, according to Croatian law, there are no cooperative banks. So we are not allowed to be a bank as a cooperative. And to fight that and still to share and keep the cooperative values that we adhere to, we decided to have a cooperative that will be 100% shareholder owner of the bank, because otherwise we won't be able to get the banking license from the national regulator. What our cooperative and the future bank will do, so we are not bank yet. We expect to get the license in the second half of this year. But what we plan to focus to something which is actually nobody focusing to in Croatia, and that's sustainable ecological agriculture, that's manufacturing of equipment for this agriculture, especially if it is combined with the green and renewable energy. And this green and renewable energy also not owned by investors, company, investment funds, and those kind of guys, but owned by energy cooperatives, so citizens involved in the owning of the sources of clean and green energy. Then we are willing to focus to the IT services and the technologies and the social innovations and other innovations that could help everything we are doing being more efficient and more accessible to the citizens. Ecological projects, and of course projects of social entrepreneurship, which is now in quite rapid development in Croatia. In our philosophy, we want to position bank a little bit differently than other banks are doing, even cooperative banks. Sometimes we want to see a bank as a service to the real economy, because according to our view, banking itself is not adding any extra value to the economy. It just needs to be a service, a facilitator, which helps the real entities which are creating, producing something, to do it on a best possible terms, also from financial perspective. So we see a bank just as a service and not as an entity that is independent and that is only looking for its profit, regardless of the investments and the effects that it is with its policy doing. If you look to the map, just briefly, we already have members of our cooperative in most of the Croatia. This map is a little bit outdated. It is from the December last year, so in the 3 months we have about 2,000 extra dots in here. So in less than a year, we managed to cover the whole country. Which is also very important, is that we are not going to follow the model with classical offices and classical branches that we are going to set up, but our cooperative members, which could be municipalities, development agencies, incubators, companies, cooperatives, if they have space, physical space, buildings, and willingness to participate, they could go through for education in our cooperative, and they will get a license, and they could serve as virtual branches of our bank. So there will be no cash business, because for that we will need to have investment in the security of each of those buildings. But all major information, gathering of documents, information about the products and services, opening of account, transactions, all those non-cash things would be available to in all those branches. And that's how we had, with almost no invested money, managed to have 36 of such organizations already in place, and many more waiting for education by our cooperative. If you look why we think that banks are very, very important to the society, not only because they are very rich financial institutions, but because basically when we look to what banks are doing, they basically keep the deposits and the money of people. So the money that banks are using is not some money of some, I don't know, rich individuals from all around the world, but it is some money of us, of ordinary people. And basically with this money, with our money, banks decide the direction of the economic development. With their credit policies, they decide if agriculture will be developed or not. With their loan giving policies to the consumption part of the economy, they would decide that we are going to go into debt and not in the producing part of the economy. So basically, the role of the bank is very important. And that's why we decided to set up a bank that would take in consideration this knowledge that it is basically the most important tool to develop and direct our economy, even more important than the government itself, because government is also borrowing money from banks. So it is not really that a government in the full in the full context and the full meaning of that word could control and oversight the banks. There is much more power on the bank side than it is usually thought. So that's why we decided that basically we need to have a bank which is owned by people, by its customers, which is tied and which is looking to the benefit and the best interest of the development of local communities. And in our vision, that should be a position of the Bank of the Society, and that's why we are employing this kind of a model. Now on very specific things, what we are envisioning with our business plan to do, we want to have a bank which is of course service to the community, which I said already several times, but which also has a cooperative in the background, which is able to support the projects that bank is investing in. So it is the real solidarity integrated in our business models. When we get a new project that is applying for funding, we are not only looking to the financial side of it, but we are also looking to all possible risks and the things that the project carries with itself. And we are not, as other banks, just saying, okay, this may be too risky because it doesn't have a distribution chain, or it doesn't have a good corporate structure, or a good project manager, or good expertise in something which is important for the project. But we say, okay, we see that all those things are missing, but maybe within our cooperative, we have people with just experience, knowledge, capacity, which is lacking in this specific project. So if we make those two projects or companies collaborate with each other, then we would reduce risks. We would also help with this.
Goran, we don't get full understanding of what you say. There's some internet difficulty, or?
Okay, to me, it sounds okay. I hope that
it's perfect.
My side. What is the last thing that you heard? Where you have lost?
Just go one paragraph back.
Okay. Paragraph back. So basically, the slide with the title "E-Bank Model and Values," or the previous one with banks.
No. Just
the paragraph. The capacity matching of
E-Bank. I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. That we lost him.
Okay, I will just summarize the last few sentences that I said. I said that according to our vision and our business model of a bank, we see very good this synergy of the offering banking services and the strength of the cooperative, which has many different sectors working together in it. How I mean that? I mean that we are, as a bank, when we as a bank get a new project, then we are also look what are the business risks of the project. we see that this project is lacking some capacity. For example, it doesn't have good distribution chain, or it doesn't have knowledge about project management or something like that. Then we are looking to our cooperative members who have that capacity or who can help the new project. We look how to connect them together, and with this we achieve three beneficial things. We help a project in order to have more chance to succeed. We help the guy who is helping this project to get extra business because he's supporting it. And on the third side, we reduce risks for our bank because we know that something that we have perceived as a risk during our analysis is now covered with this extra capacity of the cooperative member. And by that, we are able to individually approach any customer. We are developing IT system which is designed exactly to do that for this risk management and risk mitigation. And with that, we would be able, according to our business plan, to offer much cheaper interest rates, so much cheaper financing to productively oriented projects than any other competitor in Croatia. And then finally, to remind you, as a bank, because we see bank as a service to the economy, to the real economy, and to the local communities, then we don't have any pressure for a bank itself to have and gain extra profit. So we could basically run a bank as a not-for-profit entity, which at least 90% or even 100% of its profit reinvests back to the community and to the expansion and improvement of their services. And of course, by transaction policy, with the policy of the bank, with the loan giving policy, we are trying to make incentive to people to work together as much as possible, the members of the cooperative, and to form as much as possible closed economic system where majority of transactions will be within the cooperative. Just maybe to name few examples of the innovative approach that we are trying to integrate in our model. For example, you probably have heard about crowdfunding platforms where people are directly investing to the projects that they want to. And maybe you've heard for peer-to-peer lending, where also people are using social networks to make loans to each other without the intermediary of the bank. We, as an ethical bank, this don't see as a competition. We see it as a feature, actually, as something that we could offer as a part of our banking proposition to our cooperative members and our customers, and allow them to invest directly in the projects that we, as a bank, would be also investing and giving loans to. And with this system, we are basically, as a bank, sharing risks with our own customers and cooperative members, and having much better financial position according to the national regulator than if the whole risk would be only on a bank as entity. So that's something which works very, very well in the cooperative, where is the level of trust high among people. Also, which is very important, is that we are looking to the innovative models to support local communities. This is something which other ethical banks in Europe are also quite much involved. For example, there are many examples where ethical banks are supporting introduction of local currencies in local communities. And they have, of course, a bank infrastructure that could facilitate the process and make it much easier than it would be without banks. But the extra benefit of this introduction of local currencies is also closing the economic system to on the community level, making people sure that the local currency cannot escape their local territory. And with this, you usually see the increase in the frequency of circulation of this local currency, which then leads to more products, more services, more more business activity, which then benefits the local community. There are many examples around the world. I believe even in Greece, where local currencies have made a huge benefit for local communities. And finally, maybe most related to the energy, to see that we as a bank, maybe you have noticed before, we said that we do not want to pay any interest rate for deposits of clients in our bank. Why? Because we believe that the money which is just staying on the accounts of people is not productive. That we as a bank should just keep it and save it, but not invest it without the knowledge of the people. But for people that have some money and want to invest it in something which is they don't have their own idea, they don't have any willingness to invest in their own new business or something. We would offer them a possibility to invest in things which are very low risk and which are giving them something in return. For example, we would offer the savings through investment in the wind energy. So you could invest your money into wind park or the solar power park or to the organic agriculture. So we as a bank would offer those kinds of low risk investments where we as a bank could also maybe give guarantees to some extent. But the most important is that we would motivate people to think actively about their money and what is the most useful and the most beneficial way for them, but also for the community and for the environment to do with this money. And the positive homes is some project idea of ours, where members of our cooperative are working for a quite long time already, where we want to offer some special kind of the mortgages, where we would be financing houses with the maximum production of renewable energy as possible. So this could be not only one house, it could be a small neighborhood where we would install everything what is possible in this area to produce electricity and the thermal energy, where we would use this thermal energy for the food production, where we would have some overcapacitated systems for waste disposal and recycling. And with all those surpluses which the neighborhood has in terms of the energy and food and capacity for the waste disposal and recycling, maybe even water purification, we would like to have this surplus to the large extent, or maybe even in some ideal situation, completely repay the price of the house. So if you look at it from the individual perspective, you could always make this calculation, of course, if you are technological good enough to do that and find a house that would repay itself in some period. But if you are offering it from the bank side, so if you are thinking in this way as a bank, you basically could give houses to people for free or very cheaply, where you would then expect them not to pay you back, but to supply you with extra electricity, extra food, extra things that you could distribute through your cooperative and earn money on that. So this is very controversial idea to some extent, but our cooperative members are trying to are making models that would be able to make them work. We as a bank would be open to consider them, and in some future, of course, it could prove to be a model that is also sustainable and could be replicated even further. So maybe just to conclusions, and then if there is time, of course, I'll be open to all your questions. We need to have an investment tool which is not only looking to the financial return, but has a clear social mission, because all sustainable and development-related projects would always have a problem with the tool, with the financial system, which is not ready to be as sustainable and to support so sustainable things as it would be possible with such a financial institution that is integrated in this point of view. We also need to have a fair measurement of impact because it's very difficult to say and to proclaim something is doing good for the society, something is doing good for the environment if you're not ready to measure it and you don't have tools to measure it. It needs to rely on the long-term planning, not looking to the just short-time goals. Of course, something like this maybe couldn't be possible in the past because here, in order to make it possible, we rely to the great level of communication, to attracting and involving a lot of people from different areas, with different knowledge to work together on some goals. And this couldn't be possible with the use of present technology and the IT system that are able to follow that. And finally, basically, what we as a bank and as a system need to focus on is to sustainability and not only growth for the sake of growth, which is maybe making the whole system much more fragile than approach which is looking to the small entities and a large number of small entities and not a few large investments. That's my end. Of course, I'm open to all your questions if there is still time, and I hope you have heard me well and that the internet was good enough. So thank you for your attention.
Goran, I can tell you that watching the audience here, everybody was very, very carefully listening to what you have been saying. And while I ask them if there is any question that they come to address it now, because you cannot stay on Skype all day, they're waiting for that. I can tell you what I understood is that finally money is not the problem. Is that correct?
Actually, that's a very good question because people usually always think that it is money which is lacking everywhere in Croatia as well. When we said we are starting to found a bank, the first question that people asked was, okay, where would you get the money for that? And according to Croatian law, you need to have 5 million euros to fund the bank at least. And what we did, we just went all over the Croatia. We were going, before we formed the cooperative, we had about 1,500 meetings with really different people, different organizations, different companies all across Croatia. And almost all of them said, oh, that's a really brilliant idea. I would like to participate in something like that. I would be ready to invest some of my money to it. And among those members that we just attracted in the first 2 years of really hard field work, we managed to gain 10 million euros. So it is 10 million euros that is now available to fund the bank. But on the other side, this is 10 million euros which are not very easily earned. This is money which we are not using for any operational costs of our project, because we said, okay, this money is for foundation of a bank. You as a people has given it for it. We are not going to spend it on for things like which are not directly tied to the foundation of a bank. We will not use any of it before we get the license from the national regulator. For all other costs, we would do something else, for example, form a cooperative where you would give us 330 euros of our membership fee, and we will do some projects. We will apply for European funding, and that's how we will cover our operational costs. And when people see that you are really doing all your best to preserve their money, when you are completely transparent about the whole process, our cooperative members could see every transaction that we as a cooperative make. When they see that we are modest in our standard of living, that we are also investing extra time and energy to it, then you create some level of trust. And this trust is basically bringing them the money. And if there is no lack of money, there is lack of trust and lack of good ideas, at least to my experience.
Okay, Goran, the fact that you are not here is not easy for us to make the discussion. So I will be there with the ERFC team in Pula May, and I'm saying this in public because I will have to explain afterwards. And now you are receiving an invitation from us because we are launching the Innovation Week in Corfu 21 of September for a week until 25. And so the audience here is invited, and you are invited as well, hopefully by the time to have already a business plan for a social project, for a social innovation project that covers more than one country. And so welcoming you into the European Union, we are here a little bit stuck. We're waiting for you to go together forward, okay?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm also looking forward for this nice collaboration because I think we are all in the same world. We all have same needs and same problems. And as much as we could, if we collaborate, we are stronger and we can make change easier. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you very much for the invitation. I will book it immediately in my agenda, so next time I will be definitely physically present in Greece.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
This is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and so continuing our job here, Vanessa is already there to address the conference. There is also a video of REMIDA that we are going to share with you, produced in Greece this time, Vanessa. And also there is a letter that I have to read to you because it's for you. Comes from the parliament, from the Greek parliament, and the committee for research would like to tell you something. So I asked Karel and Dirk to put their earphones because that's going to be in Greek. So when they have it, I can start with this, or Vanessa is ready to go before that. If you are there, then the visitors have always priority here until you become host for all of us from Greece at that time, Vanessa. So, and after that, we are going to go for lunch and coffee together because we used that time to put the global power, not only eco power and not only energy power in our disposition. And now you are ready, Vanessa. So, Goran, if you want to follow, you follow via streaming. You have to go into the streaming possibility that the National Research Foundation is making available for us here today, and you watch us from there because we are going to use that computer now for Vanessa coming from Informest, from Northern Italy, to speak. So could you please connect via streaming, and still we are connected via Skype if you have any contribution to make that I can announce here.
Okay, great. I'm switching to streaming. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye.
So first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity and for the well and good organization of this transnational and international meeting. I would like to bring also the greetings from the Friuli Venezia Giulia region and from the province of Gorizia, who is leading this initiative. Since now the project partners are doing many events such as this one, they say to thank you for this important initiative. So I'm not a technician. I will not give you an added value on the items and on the topics that we have spoken today, but I would like to inform you on the project, which also ERFC is a partner. The project is called REMIDA. It's financed by the MED program. We have several partners from the Mediterranean areas, so Italy, Spain, Montenegro, France, Slovenia, and Bosnia. We are now working on pilot action because for us it's very important to start to transfer the know-how that we have shared during this month together and to put in practice what we have learned. The pilot action are focused on the establishment of ppPp partnerships, and that it's very, very challenging because it's new for us. It's a very new topic. So all the experts that are now supporting in this path are very important because it's a new model. It's very challenging, and so we are learning by doing. REMIDA project is a project that aims to develop a strategic energy action plan in order to have to use renewable energies and also to use energy efficiencies. This was a new theme for the stakeholders and for the institutions. So we start to analyze the partnership, public partnership people model. And as you see here, why we have switched to the partnership, public-private partnership model to the public-private people model, because there was a top-down decision. So the decision was not shared by the citizen and by the people. And also the European Union understood the importance of the introduction of a new P. So these, the actors, the municipality, the developer, and the end user on the public partnership model were just the last receivers of the policies. With the 4P processes, we have an interactive process, we have a formal relation. With the REMIDA project, we have analyzed the 6 case studies, and we saw that the 4P model was much more effective. So that was selected also by relevance and by the sustainability of the activities. So as you may see here, what we have found was that the 4P added value was an integration, was a new sharing of information and knowledge, was also conceived as in terms of legitimacy, sustainability of the things that of the decision that the public municipalities are going to take. So the people, we understood that the people are very important. So it's not important to have money to have the things financed, but it's important to involve the people in our decisions. Here were the success factors that we have found out during our analysis. So the importance of the process, the importance of the implementation. So the citizens have an active role on the actions. They are not just the receivers, they are the contributors. So the involvement of the people are the value added that can have our action. And the institutional framework is very important to support it. So this is the way that we did, and we decided to work together in REMIDA project. So a stakeholder analysis in order to involve the 4P, the context analysis, and the participatory strategy. So we started with a consultation. We did many workshops with the local stakeholder. We collected the idea, and then we selected the feasible action. So now at this moment, all the REMIDA partners, all the 9 partners, are now developing the action plan for a renewable agency energy, and for putting in practice what we have learned from the 4P.
But actually what you are just saying now, just to make it more interactive, it is in the folder what you got, there is a piece of paper asking you to become part of this dialogue. So this should not be the speakers that said and went. This is your advantage, that you want to be integrated, you want to be communicated tomorrow, whether you are in the Ministry of the Interior responsible for Exconomo, or whether you are in the island, or whether you are in the Polytechnic school, that you have to inject these technologies that so many times you have been talking about, and we were not there, the people, to listen to you. Vanessa.
Yeah, you're right. So this is the model that we have developed and we are putting in practice towards a new way of participating. And we are also supporting the local community to sign the Covenant of Mayor, that is for reducing the use of energy and to support the use of energy, renewable energies. And this was done through a participatory approach. So without the citizens, without the people interaction, we are nothing. This is what we have learned. This is all from my side.
And something in addition, Vanessa, because what has to be very, very clear here, because also people planning structural funds are in this room here. And what they want to hear is that this is territorial cooperation project funded by ERDF, which is structural funds at territorial level. So it means that your model, the public-private people partnership, finally is part of structural funds. So far, in some cases, we were using structural funds to make a bridge in a square or in a cycle or in a river. Sometimes we were rational. Now, we talk about structural funds that are from Spain to all over Mediterranean to Greece and are there to talk about models of people taking over the responsibility that should have taken a long time ago for energy cost reduction or abolition, what you said. So, back to this very, very important thing, because regional policies, I remind you, the last envelope for Greece was 20 billion. The previous one was 40. And people were not there.
Yeah, well, people are not always very informed about the opportunities that the European Union gives to the citizen and to the institution. The institution usually have a very weak capacity of absorbing EU funds because everybody talks every day, European Union gives money, but it's not that it gives money. There is must be a plan, must be a consultation, must be a good partnership. So we have to understand and to be more focused on the opportunities that the European Union gives to us for establishing new project ideas and new partnership. That is very important.
Very good. Okay, if there is no question, I see that you are a bit tired, you want to meet each other, we have to go to provide for that. But before you went, I asked Yannis to give us the video of REMIDA, so concluding the speech, so to see what they have produced here in Greece about this and see how this can be integrated further for the social cooperatives in Europe, while I have to read for you the following letter. From Βουλευτής Δωδεκανήσου, Karel, your interpretation is ready, so if you can put your earphones, then this is in Greek, so no way out. Βουλευτής Δωδεκανήσου, Νεκτάριος Αντορινιός, Μητροπόλεως 1, Αθήνα, προς ERFC, προς το Θόδωρο τον Πατσουλέ που είναι ο project manager σε αυτό το έργο, προς όλους εσάς που είστε εδώ σήμερα. Αθήνα, 31 Τρίτου. Χαιρετίζω τη σημερινή ημέρα έναρξης των εργασιών αυτής της διεθνούς ημερίδας με θέμα τη συμμετοχή των πολιτών σε προγράμματα εξοικονόμησης ενέργειας. Am I going too fast, Πύρος? Δυστυχώς, κοινοβουλευτικές υποχρεώσεις δεν μου επιτρέπουν να παρακολουθήσω τις πολύ ενδιαφέρουσες εισηγήσεις και παρουσιάσεις. Θεωρώ ότι ο τομέας ενέργειας προσφέρεται για έρευνα, πρωτοποριακές δοκιμές και νέα τεχνολογικά σχήματα ώστε να εξευρεθούν εναλλακτικές πηγές ή να μειωθεί το κόστος και οι αρνητικές περιβαλλοντικές επιπτώσεις των ήδη χρησιμοποιούμενων μορφών. Τέτοιες ιδέες και προγράμματα είναι ιδιαίτερα σημαντικά τόσο γιατί αλλάζουν το status quo στον ενεργειακό τομέα, όσο και γιατί δίνεται μια διέξοδος για φιλικότερη στο περιβάλλον και φθηνότερη για τους καταναλωτές ενέργεια. Ευχάριστο και ελπιδοφόρο είναι το γεγονός ότι με αφορμή αυτή την ημερίδα ανοίγει η συζήτηση της ενεργούς συμμετοχής των πολιτών μέσω και των προγραμμάτων και της περιοχής τους και να γίνονται ενσυνείδητα συμμέτοχοι στη μείωση του κόστους. Με την πρόσφατη ιδιότητά μου ως του Προέδρου της Μόνιμης Επιτροπής Έρευνας και Τεχνολογίας Βουλής, θα ήθελα να τονίσω ότι χρειάζεται μια εκ νέου χάραξη εθνικής στρατηγικής στους τομείς της έρευνας και τεχνολογίας,
ώστε στις σημερινές δύσκολες πολιτικές και οικονομικές συνθήκες, όπου η παραγωγική ανασυγκρότηση του τόπου είναι επιτακτική ανάγκη, οι τομείς αυτοί μπορούν και πρέπει να παίξουν σημαντικό ρόλο στην κατεύθυνση αυτή. Για αυτούς τους λόγους, οφείλουμε να είμαστε ανοιχτοί και να μελετάμε κάθε καινούργια ιδέα που μπορεί να εξυπηρετήσει τον άνθρωπο και την κοινωνική οικονομία. Σας εύχομαι καλή επιτυχία, ο Πρόεδρος της Επιτροπής Έρευνας και Τεχνολογίας της Βουλής των Ελλήνων, ο κύριος Νεκτάριος Σαντορινιός. And so, if we can just watch the video and make our break. This is the REMIDA video produced by people here in Greece. For all of us and for the people watching us on the streaming, 1:30 Greek time, we are going to be back in this room with 5 minutes delay to start the second session, where we are going to have the experiences of the Greek territories that started with